They didn't laugh with her. They laughed at her. Private Tessa Ward had expected some cultural adjustment when she was assigned to the interspecies diplomacy outpost on Dravani Prime, but she hadn't anticipated the outright mockery. Not over her uniform, her rank, or even her Earth accent. No, they laughed because of her cat. A 6.2-kilogram tabby named Mr. Whiskers. When she stepped off the docking ramp of the shuttle, sleek in her Navy-issued suit and flanked by towering reptilian engineers, every eye in the landing bay locked on the creature in her arms. Yellow eyes blinked indifferently from a soft, rounded head, tail twitching lazily. And that was enough. Laughter. Not just chuckles or amused glances. Full-on, chest-heaving, mandible-clattering alien laughter. One insectoid officer actually chittered so hard it fell off its own hover pad. Is this a companion animal?" said Lieutenant Jark, a purple-skinned Atari who led the security team. "A Predator Class 1, Tessa replied without a trace of irony. Jark narrowed his eyes. That is a meat pillow." Mr. Whiskers blinked slowly and let out a disinterested roar, before curling into her arms like a furry spiral of apathy. Within minutes, memes had circulated around the outpost's internal net. Cartoons of a brave soldier armed with a rifle, and a fluffy orange sidekick holding a sword in its mouth. "The Deathbringer and his flesh doll," one caption read. Tessa tried to keep her composure. She really did. The cat wasn't even supposed to be here. Technically, pets weren't allowed in military installations, especially ones this remote and volatile, but she'd snuck him aboard during planetary quarantine, figuring nobody would notice. And no one had until now. The real problem wasn't the mockery. It was what the outpost was facing. A Fangbeast. The creature had first been spotted 2 weeks prior, prowling the perimeter sensors at night. Native to Dravani's southern jungles, Fangbeasts were rarely seen this far north. No one knew why one had wandered into the zone, but it had. And it was aggressive. In just 5 days, 2 patrol bots were torn to pieces. Then a Drakari scout went missing on a routine sweep. The next night, only fragments of its exosuit were found near the fence line, stained with corrosive saliva. The jungle beyond the outpost glowed green under the planet's twin moons, and beyond that lay only growls in the darkness. Command had sent 3 squads to try and track it. All came back limping, bloodied, or not at all. "We believe it may be nesting nearby," Commander Vorn said during the emergency briefing. "This is no ordinary predator. Its hide repels energy weapons. Its mind seems to learn from each failed trap. It strikes only at night, only once, and never the same place twice." The outpost was effectively under siege. Defensive drones were set to maximum, motion sensors blanketed the zone, and watch rotations were doubled. Still, every night something scratched closer. And into this tension had walked Tessa. With her ridiculous orange cat. He'd already wandered off on his own twice. "Ward," Vorn had grunted, gazing down at her from his hovering command chair. "Are you seriously going to tell me this fur ball is authorized?" "Regulation 18-7B, she answered crisply. "Permits officers 1 personal item under 10 kilograms in long-term postings. That usually means a hollow picture. Or a chessboard. Nada." He glanced down. "Snoring fur balloon." Mr. Whiskers was, indeed, sleeping in the crook of her arm. Dreaming. Probably about tuna. "He's well behaved," she added. "He better be," Vorn muttered. "1 more missing drone and I'll feed him to the damn Fangbeast myself." Tessa was assigned to Night Watch Sector 6, the most isolated of the perimeter zones. It bordered the jungle directly, and was flanked by 2 broken motion towers still waiting for parts. From her small lookout pod perched on stilts, she could hear the chirping insect life, the low humming wind, and sometimes, when things got especially quiet, the creak of underbrush from something very, very large. She didn't tell anyone that Mr. Whiskers had escaped again on her second night. She'd awoken in her bunk pod to find the emergency hatch light blinking. Her feline had somehow pressed the open switch, squeezed through the pod's air flap, and was gone into the darkness. The jungle. At night. She cursed under her breath, dressed fast, and grabbed a tracker tag from her kit. She'd embedded one in his collar, thankfully. The readout blinked just outside the base perimeter. Right into Fangbeast territory. She hesitated only a second. Then she dashed out the hatch. 30 meters into the jungle, the noise changed. Tessa's boots squelched in moss. She waved her sensor stick side to side, tracking the tag's blinking pulse. Her rifle was slung low, a red light blinking under the barrel, set to silent plasma bursts. She didn't want to shoot unless she had to. "Mr. Whiskers!" she hissed. "This is not the time to go adventuring." A low growl cut through the trees. She froze. The sound was like gravel and bone grinding underwater. Thick. Wet. It seemed to echo from every side at once. Her sensor lit up red. Lifeform detected. Unknown. Moving. Fast. Branches cracked. Heavy footfalls. The sound of claws on bark. Her breathing quickened. The pulse of the tracker was just ahead, behind a root-split tree trunk. Slowly, Tessa edged forward. Her finger hovered near the trigger. She rounded the tree. And blinked in confusion. Nothing. Just a mossy clearing. Her tracker buzzed louder. The tag was here. Then she saw the collar. Torn. Shredded. Still warm. Her gut dropped. "Mr. Whiskers?" she whispered. "Oh God!" The growl came again. But this time, it ended in a screech. A scream. Not hers. Something was fighting. Hard. In the gloom ahead, branches thrashed violently. Leaves rained down. Tessa raised her rifle, stepping forward, senses on fire. Then she saw it. The Fangbeast. Easily 4 meters long. Spines along its back like razors. Eyes burning green. A hide like obsidian armor, slick with something dark and wet. And riding its face. Claws sunk into its eye socket. Was a furious, hissing, mangy orange blur. "Mr. Whiskers?" Her cat didn't answer. He was too busy slashing, tearing, biting. He ducked a snap of the monster's massive jaws, then latched onto its snout, clawing at the soft nostril tissue. The Fangbeast howled in pain. Tessa stood frozen, rifle forgotten, jaw open. It bucked. It rolled. It slammed its head into a tree, but the cat held on. A dozen scratches crisscrossed the beast's face. Blood now gushed from one ruined eye. The smell was awful, acrid and sweet, like burned meat and jungle rot. Tessa aimed her rifle now, breath steady. "Off!" she shouted. Mr. Whiskers leapt off midair like a gymnast, landing in the ferns with a growl. One clean shot. She fired. Straight into the eye socket the cat had ruined. The plasma bolt sizzled into brain matter. The Fangbeast shuddered. Then dropped like a fallen tree. Silence. Mr. Whiskers trotted over, tail high, fur matted in black blood. He rubbed against her boot and let out a pleased roar. Tessa stared at him, eyes wide. "You're kidding me." She picked him up, and for the first time since arriving he purred. And somewhere deep inside the trees, the jungle held its breath. They didn't believe her. Not at first. The following morning, Tessa walked into the main briefing hall with Mr. Whiskers perched proudly on her shoulder, and a thick smear of Fangbeast's blood across her armor. She was still reeling from the night's events, heart racing, adrenaline fading. Every eye turned toward her, and every expression ranged from annoyance to smug skepticism. She held up the creature's shredded, still steaming fang, nearly the size of her forearm, and dropped it onto the center console with a wet thud. The room fell dead silent. Commander Vorn squinted at it. "Where did you find?" "In the jungle," Tessa said. "Sector 6. It attacked. My cat distracted it. I took the shot." "Your cat?" "Mr. Whiskers," she confirmed. Whiskers blinked slowly. Then, without hesitation, he began licking his paw. Jark raised one arched brow ridge. "You're saying that?" He pointed at the cat. "Took on a Fangbeast." Tessa nodded. "Clawed out one of its eyes." Held it long enough for me to get a clean shot. There was a long pause. Vorn exchanged looks with the others. Then laughter erupted. It wasn't as harsh this time, more incredulous than mocking, but it still burned. You expect us to believe, chuckled one insectoid technician, that your decorative purring loaf disabled the apex predator that's wiped out 3 patrol teams? Did you drug it first? Someone else called. Or was the beast just allergic to smugness? Even Vorn cracked a dry smile. Ward, I'll give you credit for nerve. But until we confirm the corpse, and I mean confirm, I'm logging this as a shared kill at best. Maybe you found it wounded. Tessa clenched her jaw. It's out there, she said. Near grid point Theta 2. You'll see the tracks. You'll see the blood. And you'll see the cat's claw marks in its face. I'll dispatch a drone team. Vorn replied, already half dismissing her. In the meantime, keep your hell beast inside the perimeter. That's an order. She turned and left without another word. Whiskers meowed smugly the whole walk back. But the jungle gave no evidence. The drone scouts sent later that day reported only broken trees, disturbed brush, and then nothing. No body. No blood. No tracks. As if the Fangbeast had vanished. That night, sensors picked up another breach. Perimeter alarm. South fence line. Fangbeast signature, confirmed. Tessa's heart dropped. She'd seen it die. Seen its brain boil from the inside. But the scanner logs didn't lie. Infrared trail. Same mass. Same heat signature. The same beast. Only now it was smarter. This time, it avoided all drones, stepped between motion beams, and used a fallen tree trunk to silently breach the fence. The response team scrambled, but it had vanished into the dense undergrowth by the time they arrived. A single guard, Private Merrow, a Valari scout, was found unconscious, his armor shredded, a paralytic venom coursing through his veins. He survived, but barely. Tessa couldn't sleep. She watched Mr. Whiskers curled at the foot of her cot, tail twitching. You killed it, she whispered. I saw you. So what the hell is going on? The cat opened one eye, yawned, then rolled over and slept deeper. The next day, the real shift began. Outpost sensors registered multiple Fangbeast level signatures, spread over kilometers of jungle, converging. Some larger than the original. Some smaller. But all fast. All cloaked in near invisibility when not moving. Breeding? Vorn muttered during the emergency briefing. Or worse, some kind of pack? They don't pack, said Jark. Fangbeasts are solitary apexes. Highly territorial. Seeing more than one is unnatural. Unless it was never alone, Tessa added softly. Vorn glanced at her. You're suggesting there are more? I think we've been dealing with a scout. A juvenile. The real ones are coming now. They watched. They learned. The room fell into a tense silence. Then the lights flickered. And every emergency sensor in the compound went red. Full perimeter breach. Multiple hostiles detected. Chaos erupted. Sirens blared. Troopers scrambled. Drones lit up the skies. Weapons stations powered up and rotated to target the incoming signatures. The jungle itself seemed to shift as something massive approached from every direction. And right in the middle of it, Mr. Whiskers sat in the center courtyard, grooming himself. Tessa scooped him up, heart pounding. We need to go, now! An explosion rocked the eastern wall. Screams echoed from the hangar bay. Through the dust, she saw a streak of black muscle and bones slam into the side of a dropship and crack the hull like a nut. Vorn! She barked into her comm. We need an evacuation! No! His voice crackled back. We hold. Fall back to core sector. Shield grids coming online. Tessa turned on her heel and sprinted for the command deck, cat under arm, rifle in hand. The Fangbeasts were inside. The fighting spread across 5 sectors. They moved like liquid terror, bounding across walls, sliding between gaps, breaking through ally like it was paper. They were stronger now. Smarter. One of them had somehow disabled a turret array using a severed power line. Every shot Tessa fired was aimed with precision, but every beast that dropped seemed to be replaced by two more. Their armor resisted energy. Their reflexes adapted. Even motion-triggered mines were being dodged mid-leap. And all through it, Mr. Whiskers remained eerily calm. Too calm. Tessa ducked into the last functioning command center and dropped him onto the console table. "Stay," she ordered. He didn't. He leapt off, scampered to the central systems panel, and pressed 3 keys in rapid succession. Tessa blinked. "What the hell?" The display changed. The entire base schematic zoomed out, showing a subterranean map no one had accessed before. A lower tunnel level. One labeled, Experimental Holding Vault B13. Jark appeared behind her, bloodied and out of breath. "We've got 30 dead, 10 more unaccounted," he gasped. "We're losing ground by the second. Do we have an escape vector?" "No," Tessa said grimly. "But I think we have a secret." She turned the display toward him. He frowned. "What's this?" "I don't know. But my cat found it." Are you kidding me right now?" She didn't respond. Instead, she grabbed her rifle, turned to Mr. Whiskers, and said, "Show me again." The cat padded to the screen, pressed one paw on the map's edge, then walked, literally walked, the route between their location and Vault B13. Jark stared. "Okay," he muttered. "That's not normal." "Nope," she replied. "Come on." They ran. Vault B13 wasn't on any official registry. The tunnel leading to it was old, dust-choked, lit by flickering yellow strips that hadn't been maintained in years. They passed 2 bulkhead doors, each requiring manual override. Behind them, Tessa could hear the faint echoes of claws on tile, growls, hisses. And deeper still, humming. A soft, crystalline hum. The vault door was massive. Sealed tight. But Mr. Whiskers leapt from her arms and darted to a nearby control junction. With one paw, he tapped the emergency override. The door groaned open. Inside, darkness. Then light. A containment chamber. Hexagonal. Cracked from inside. And in the middle of the room, blood. Lots of it. Not red. Glowing blue. Jark stepped forward slowly. "What is this place?" Tessa crouched near a shattered plaque on the floor. She read it aloud. "Project Batet, Phase 0 Prototype, Selective Predator Gene Splicing." Jark stared at her. "Batet? As in the old Earth feline goddess?" Tessa turned to Mr. Whiskers, who now stood statue-still in the center of the chamber, tail raised, eyes glowing faintly. And then it clicked. "Oh my God!" she whispered. "They use cats. They tried to build predators using feline DNA. Instinct. Speed. Stealth. They were engineering Fangbeasts. And this one," Jark pointed at Whiskers. "He's from that batch?" Tessa looked down at her companion. He licked his paw again. But now, he was smiling. Back on the main level, the defense grid was collapsing. Fangbeasts tore through sealed halls. Fires erupted. Only a few squads remained, holding corridors, praying for reinforcements. But then, something changed. The beast stopped. Frozen. Staring. Sniffing the air. Then howls. Screeches. Panic. From the tunnel emerged a blur of orange and shadow. Claws flashed. Teeth ripped. And one by one, the Fangbeasts began to fall. Whiskers didn't fight like a cat. He fought like a ghost. He moved faster than light, lower than radar, and when he struck to end. Tessa watched in stunned silence as her companion launched himself through the chest of one beast, tore the jaw from another, and landed without making a sound. The others fled. The courtyard was silent again. The only thing that remained was a soft purr. There was no command code for this. No procedure for a genetically altered house cat declaring war on apex alien predators and winning. But that's exactly what was happening. Mr. Whiskers, formerly known as Serial Specimen BZ0X, moved like a weapon forged in silence and purpose. The outpost was crumbling, fires raging through the corridors, wounded soldiers piled into med-bays. Tessa stood at the central holodisplay, staring at the casualty report ticking upward. And yet, in the lower quadrant of the screen, a new tracker blinked. A single, pulsing green dot. It was him. The cat. Whiskers had been gone 10 minutes. And in that time, the Fangbeast had stopped attacking. Motion sensors picked up bodies, multiple, in pieces, strewn across corridors. No friendly fire. No plasma burns. Just shredded armor and cleanly severed joints. Jark stepped beside her, jaw locked tight. So, he said after a moment, do we promote it? Give it a medal? Maybe a hat? Tessa didn't laugh. She was watching footage on the side panel. Whiskers had taken out 4 Fangbeasts in a hallway with zero sound. Security cam footage showed only flickers, a flash of orange fur, a smear of blood, a tail vanishing around a corner. It's not just killing them, she said. He's hunting them. Hurting them. Like he knows what they'll do before they do it. Jark rubbed his temples. He was engineered for this. Bot protocol. Weaponized feline instinct. Spliced with chameleon cortexes, predator pheromone disruptors, some Terran stealth cephalopod strands too, maybe. He's been living in my quarters for 3 years. Tessa muttered. I used to think he just liked naps. Then the central alarm blared. Warning. Inner vault breach. Level X isolation containment compromised. The lights dimmed. On screen, the schematic blinked crimson. A new signal had just activated deep beneath the facility, in a chamber no one had accessed in decades. Jark frowned. What the hell is Level X? That wasn't on the schematics. Tessa expanded the map. Her pulse quickened. There it was. Beneath Vault B13. A black chamber. No corridors leading in. Just a static power feed and a 3-letter code burned into the file header. CKX. She touched it. Files unfurled. Corrupted. Fragmented. But one line stood out. CKX Beta, Predator Override. Reversal strain. Incomplete. The words burned into her thoughts. Jark, she said carefully. I think the original Fangbeast wasn't the endgame. I think it was a test subject. A clone. Maybe even a decoy. He glanced at the display. And this is the real one. The comms channel lit up. Sector Gamma. They're back. Bigger. Something news with them, something leading them. Static. Tessa locked eyes with him. And then, from the far end of the room, came a low, resonating growl. Not from the speakers. From the walls. And Mr. Whiskers stepped into the room. Only now, his fur was bristling, eyes dilated into predator black discs. His shoulders moved with slow calculation. He wasn't purring. He wasn't meowing. He was tracking. What is it? Tessa whispered, kneeling. He didn't look at her. Instead, he leapt onto the console and activated the central display with a paw. A single blinking dot appeared, deep in the underground layer. Not red. Not green. Purple. CKX Beta. Active. He stared at it. Then looked at Tessa. And growled. Oh no, Jark muttered. They descended with a 10-person team. Or rather, a 9-person team and 1 warcat. The lower levels were sealed, untouched since the early days of the outpost's construction. Thick dust blanketed everything. Old blood. Abandoned lab gear. Scattered notes. The smell of antiseptic and rot lingered in the air. The team moved slowly, Jark on point, Tessa second, Mr. Whiskers weaving silently through shadows ahead of them like smoke. They passed a row of glass tubes. Some shattered. Some still glowing dimly. Inside each, malformed things. Not quite Fangbeasts. Not quite feline. Things with too many limbs, or none at all. Some were still twitching. What were they doing here? One soldier asked. Tessa read the tags. Cross-species bioweaving. Earth predatory mammalia combined with alien survival DNA. Trying to create the perfect apex. Jark pointed at a shattered tube. Looks like they succeeded. Too well, she whispered. They reached the final vault. The air was colder here. Metallic. Thick with something else, something ancient. The door was open. Not blasted. Not cut. Opened. Like someone, or something, had simply walked out. Inside, a chamber larger than expected. Lit by flickering emergency strips. The walls were covered in claw marks, both inside and out. At the center stood a single stasis pod. Cracked from within. And beside it, drag marks. Something had moved. Something massive. Jark approached slowly. Why do I get the feeling we're not supposed to be here? Then the growl came. From above. They looked up. And saw it. The true Fangbeast. The SCI-FI beta. Nearly 5 meters long, its hide shimmered like obsidian wrapped in fluid muscle. Its mouth split horizontally, mandibles folding open like petals. Eyes, 4 of them, burned violet. It dropped to the floor with a thud that shook the walls. The team opened fire instantly. Plasma bolts hammered its armor, but it barely flinched. It moved like liquid, dodging with impossible grace. One soldier was down in a blink, arm severed, body tossed. Chaos. Then came the scream. Not human. Not alien. Cat. Mr. Whiskers launched himself from the shadows with a screech like rending glass, claws outstretched, tail rigid. He slammed into SCI-FI beta's face and bit through its eye. The beast roared. Jark shouted. Back him up! Tessa raised her rifle, but the two predators were locked together in a whirl of blood and claws. Plasma fire would hit them both. She hesitated. Whiskers and the SCI-FI slammed into a wall, then skidded across the floor, leaving deep gouges. The bigger beast threw him off, sending him crashing into a cryo panel. Tessa ran to him. He was bleeding. Bad. Whiskers. He pulled himself upright. Shaky. But still alive. Still glaring. Then something happened. The SCI-FI paused. It stared at the cat. Not with rage. Recognition. Like looking in a mirror. Tessa realized it. They're the same strain, she said softly. Whiskers is from the early batch. The SCI-FI is the final product. It knows him. It sees him as... Jark said the word she didn't want to. Alpha. The SCI-FI took one slow step forward. Whiskers stood taller. He growled, not loud. Just deep. Authoritative. And to everyone's shock, the SCI-FI stopped. Head tilted. Like a soldier receiving orders. The entire room froze. Whiskers walked forward slowly. Chest puffed. Limping slightly, but proud. He let out a series of short, sharp chirps. Commands? The SCI-FI responded with a guttural click. Then turned. And walked away. What in the hell? Jark whispered. Whiskers sat. Licked his paw. As if it was over. But Tessa could feel it wasn't. The intercom crackled again. Multiple inbound signatures. Planetary atmosphere breach. Drop trajectory, heading for our location. Tessa looked at the console. Dozens of pods. Descending. From orbit. Not Fangbeasts. Not Terran. Unknown. And above them all, a single ship, blacker than space, burning no fuel, transmitting no signal. A ghost. Something woke up the SCI-FI, Tessa said. And whatever it was, it's not from this planet. Jark nodded grimly. And it's coming for it. They all turned to Whiskers. He was already staring at the ceiling. Watching. Waiting. Preparing. He knew what was coming. They had 12 minutes. 12 minutes before the unknown ships entered atmosphere. Before the pods, 38 to be exact, slammed into Dravani soil around the outpost. No response to hails. No broadcasted protocol. Just a silent descent from the edge of deep space, as if some ancient force had marked this patch of jungle for erasure. Commander Vorn's voice came through the emergency comms, thin and ragged. "We've got evacuation shuttles spinning up, but power is fluctuating, atmospheric distortion from those things. We need time. Ward, whatever you found down there, buy us that time." Tessa stood beside Mr. Whiskers, staring up at the slowly rotating planetary hologram. The news ships, void black, utterly alien, were carving lines of descent through the upper stratosphere. One signature was as large as a command cruiser. Whiskers sat motionless, tail curled neatly around his side, eyes glowing faintly. He hadn't moved since the final confrontation with the ZKX Beta. As if he were listening. Waiting. Jark stepped forward, still bloodied, still pale. "They're not coming for us," he said. "They're coming for him." "Then we give them him," said one soldier, hand trembling over their sidearm. "Whatever the hell he is, we chuck him outside and let those things take him." Tessa's glare shut the soldier down instantly. "He saved our lives," she said. "He stopped the Fangbeasts. He's the only reason any of you are still breathing. He's also some kind of prototype killing machine that other prototypes seem to obey," Jark added grimly. "Which raises one very important question." Tessa nodded. "What was he made to fight?" A beat passed. Then the lights went out. Only the blue glow of the display, and the gentle pulsing of Whisker's eyes, lit the room. From the exterior comms. "Impact. Pod 1 has landed. Hostile signatures emerging. Pod 2. Pod 3. Pod. Static." The first attack wasn't loud. It was silent. Motion sensors on the North Tower stopped transmitting. Then the eastern drone feed cut to black. No explosions. No weapons fire. Just silence. Then the screams started. Creatures with no visible form, just displacement. A shimmer in the air. Like a ripple moving through fog. One leapt 20 meters, tore a soldier in half, and vanished before impact registered. The old defenses didn't work. Plasma rounds passed through them. Heat sensors glitched out. Their AI drones couldn't lock on. It was a slaughter. And then one of the creatures stopped. Mid-lunge. Just meters from Tessa's command post. It froze. Eyes, if it had them, locked on the center of the room. On Whiskers. Tessa saw the shimmer pause. Quiver. Then drop to its knees. It made a sound like static and thunder fused. A whimper, almost. Jark whispered. "They recognize him." Another shimmer approached. Slowed. Stopped. Then another. 5, then 10. They were surrounding the command dome. Not attacking. Not fleeing. Assembling. Tessa turned to Mr. Whiskers. "What are you?" she breathed. And for the first time since this all began, he responded. Not in words. But he stepped forward, tail high, and looked directly into the central hologram. His paw tapped the map. Then again. And suddenly, a new overlay appeared. Project Pride. Thousands of years old. Buried deep in Earth's forgotten defense archives. Created during the first interstellar cold cycle. A covert Terran directive to seed the galaxy with biological sentinels, predators that could infiltrate, adapt, and neutralize threats that conventional warfare couldn't reach. Cats. Engineered. Spliced. Programmed with dormant instincts and latent command coding. Hidden on transport vessels scattered on colony ships. Every one believed lost. Until Whiskers. Until now. The creatures outside, the ones tearing through the jungle, weren't invaders. They were former sentinels. Woken by something. Corrupted. Turned into something else. But Whiskers hadn't turned. His original programming held. And more than that, he was an alpha unit. A controller. The last uncorrupted node. He was their stopgap. Their failsafe. Their commander. The next alert came with no sound. On the east ridge, a larger creature descended. 10 meters tall. Shaped like a skeletal mantis wrapped in black flame. A single curved horn rose from its skull, and its presence bent the jungle around it. The others bowed to it. Even the corrupted ones. But it didn't bow back. It looked at the outpost. At Whiskers. And it screamed. The audio sensors maxed out. Concrete cracked. The air seemed to rupture. Then it charged. The final commander. The corrupted Arch-Sentinel. And for the first time, Mr. Whiskers ran. But not away. Straight toward it. He leapt off the console, claws flashing. Tessa tried to grab him, too slow. He was already through the front door before anyone shouted his name. Then silence. Tessa rushed outside, rifle drawn, Jark at her side. They reached the edge of the hill just as the monster reached the courtyard. Whiskers stood alone. Small. Still. The creature raised one claw the size of a tower and brought it down like a meteor. Tessa screamed. And then, impact. Dust. Stone. Silence. When it cleared, the monster was frozen. Arm mid-strike. Whiskers stood on its snout. One paw pressed against its forehead. Glowing. Emitting a signal. Across the battlefield, every corrupted beast stopped. Then fell. One by one. Like puppets with their strings severed. The giant creature began to shudder, then split. Right down the middle. No blood. Just light, pulsing, strobing. And then it collapsed. Tessa fell to her knees. Mr. Whiskers walked calmly back, tail twitching. He limped, his right paw dragging slightly. She rushed to scoop him up. He purred. Blood on his whiskers. Jark muttered, "That was the coolest, weirdest damn thing I've ever seen." Tessa cradled him gently. "You saved us again." Whiskers reached up with one paw and tapped her chin. Twice. Then passed out. 2 days later, the skies were clear. Vorn stood at the center of the courtyard, wearing a half-burned uniform, and stared at the clean-up crews combing through wreckage. "Reports from other colonies say they experienced similar attacks," he said. "All stopped within an hour of ours." Tessa nodded, cradling Whiskers in a sling across her chest. He was healing. Slowly. But alive. "They were linked," she said. "Once he shut down the command node, the rest followed." Jark joined them, holding a datapad. "Guess what's popping up in Old Earth archives now that we know the keywords Project Pride?" "Let me guess," Bourne said. "A 1,000-year-old contingency plan written by paranoid biowar scientists who figured genetically enhanced cats were safer than nukes." "Exactly that." They stared in silence for a moment. Then Vorn said, "You're going to need to write a report." Tessa smiled. "You're going to need to approve a promotion." Vorn looked down at the cat in her sling. Whiskers yawned. Loudly. And Vorn said, "Sergeant Whiskers it is." Back on Earth, the footage went viral. A tabby cat leaping onto a Fangbeast skull. A team of soldiers bowing to a feline sitting on a command console. The glowing eyes of the last sentinel saving a planet from ancient horrors. The memes wrote themselves. They laughed at the human's cat, until it became the galaxy's last hope. The galaxy learned 2 things that week. First, humanity had very strange backup plans. Second, you never underestimate a cat. Especially not that one. Mr. Whiskers slept through the fanfare, of course. But every time the lights dimmed, and shadows crept back toward the edges of the jungle, he opened one eye. Just to check. And the galaxy slept a little easier.